Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Haters TV for another Arsenal special. You liked the first one so much that we had to get the guys back together to talk all things Arsenal. I was going to call it Arsenal All or Nothing or something, but just all Arsenal, nothing else. But I quite like brush your teeth after that Ian Wright thing. You can probably see here in the studio, we've got your great Arsenal correspondent from Gold, Charlie Watts, the man who told us last time that Aubameyang was going to sign a new deal. And then the Thomas Partey even deal was still on, and he was right there, and how that transfer unfolded. Simon Collings at SR Collings is at R stand for Rick's Rice Ronaldo. We'll soon find out about that. He's the Evening Standard's Arsenal man, former Haters TV guy too. And Jason Solomons, the great at Jason Critic, film critic extraordinaire and Arsenal season ticket holder, our man not in the stands. I think we really have to start off with the transfer window because we're speaking now in the international break. And Charles, we have to come to you because you said that the Partey deal was not dead, as a lot of people were saying, and that it would happen. And on the day, you were all over it. Tell us about how that came about and your view of how the window unfolded, how you think the window went for Arsenal, sorry.
I think it was a good window. I think the Partey signing, certainly the gloss, the cherry on the cake, as they'd say. It's a player they wanted all summer. We knew it. Him and Auba were the two key targets. I mean, the Partey interest goes back well beyond this summer. He's a player that Arsenal have liked for a long, long time. Tempted to go for him last summer, decided to put the money in a winger and go for Nicola Pepe, and but they've gone back and got him this summer. It's one that's been bubbling under the surface throughout the summer, really, but mainly because of the release clause. It's kind of strange one because I remember I got panned for it not long ago, saying that I still felt it was a more simple one to do than the Arwa one, even though you have to pay 50 million up front for it, because you kind of knew the whole way through the summer, you knew what you had to do. Arsenal knew there was no negotiations. There was nothing like that. You didn't have to deal with a Jean-Michel Aulas who was going to do what he did with the Arwa thing. They had to lay 50 million down. All it was about was getting that money together and then doing it. And once they did it, it could happen relatively quickly. And that's what happened right at the end. I think the fact that they did fail to get Arwa and that the bid was rejected, that helped them. It sort of focused their attentions at the end of the window on, right, we'll have to do this. We'll go and get Partey done. Okay.
Charles, like me and Simon, you were lucky to be at the Sheffield United match at the weekend when the way Mikel was talking and club officials were talking, it didn't seem like we were going to be prepared for any big deals on the transfer deadline day. Where did Arsenal suddenly get £50 million plus probably another 50 million for the wages and so on to get this deal done?
Well, I think they've kind of already had it. They knew what they had to do. Whether it's Stan Kroenke's given us a little bit more money or given the green light to do the final little push, you probably think he has, to be fair to him. Gets a lot of grief, Stan Kroenke, but I think when you look at the Pepe deal last year and now this money, which is a massive investment because it's the release clause, it's not a case of doing it in instalments. You have to go there and pay it in one big whack. And given the financial problems Arsenal are going through at the moment, you've got to give Stan Kroenke credit. He's certainly backed Mikel Arteta, as Mikel Arteta said in those press conferences, that he had the full backing. And I think Arsenal just felt like they needed to do it. He's a player they've wanted for an awful long time, stretching back, a couple of years now. Could have done it last summer, decided not to. Done it this summer, and I think they probably looked at the start of the season they've looked at the work Mikel Arteta's done, but you can only do so much for this current crop of players. You look at that midfield, and Arsenal struggles in midfield, even at the start of the season, even though they've been winning games, they need to add more. And you look at Thomas Partey's numbers in all areas, not just as the sort of destructive ball winner that I think a lot of people see him at, but everywhere going forward as well. It's fantastic play. He's going to bring so much to this team. And I think they probably looked at it on the final day or in the days leading up to that final day and thought, you know what, we're going to have to go for it here. Maybe it's a little bit above our budget, but it's going to be worth it long term. And I think once we see him play, once we see him settle down and adjust, we're going to see that it is absolutely worth it because he's a hell of a player.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Arteta uses him, because I was reading that for Ghana, he plays as quite as a forward advancing midfield, and he can get forward and score goals too. Simon, when we spoke for Haters TV outside the stadium, which I think was just before lockdown, just when Mikel was getting coronavirus, we spoke about possible plans for the summer. And I remember you saying that the most important business Arsenal could do would be to secure their best players on new contracts. Aubameyang, obviously, and Bukayo Saka, you were particularly keen that Arsenal signed. As the window's gone through, they've got Martinelli on a new deal, Aubameyang and Saka. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how those things came about and where it leaves Arsenal going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think before, I think we're coming up to sort of 2 days before the window ended. As Sam Dean, the Telegraph, he sort of made the point that, Arsenal obviously hadn't had masses of incomings, but in terms of contractual work they'd done and money spent, they'd tied down their best player in Aubameyang, their best young player in Saka, and then probably, close behind their second best young player in Martinelli to new contracts. And I think those were an indication of the project that Arteta was doing and the belief within the club and within the squad that this was worth, hanging around for. I mean, you've got to remember with Aubameyang, as much as he is, a great forward, probably been one of the best in Europe for 5, 6, 7 years, he's not really won masses of trophies in his career. And this was going to be, and this was his last big contract, 31 years old. It's going to be his last big payday, his last chance to probably go to one of the elite clubs. And, when Aubameyang spoke after he finally signed the thing, as he said on the Instagram Live, he spoke about that conversation he had with Arteta in lockdown. And Arteta basically put the ball in his court and saying, look, you can either, you can go somewhere else, win trophies, or you can stay here and you can become a legend. And I think that played to Aubameyang as a person, as a player. I mean, the guy drives gold Lamborghinis and has, diamond-encrusted rucksacks. You don't need a brain to work out that this is a guy who likes being the centre of attention. And I think Arteta sold it to him that, look, you'll be the talisman for this team. You can be a legend at this club. But also, crucially, he said, look, we're gonna be challenging for trophies now. And the signings, I think, have shown that from Arsenal this summer. They brought in Gabriel, who immediately makes the defence better. Partey immediately makes the midfield better, and Willian the attack. They haven't gone and signed young players, and they've made the team better now. And I think for Aubameyang, that's what he wanted to know as part of those negotiations was, look, this team's going to be better now. And the fact that Arsenal got it over the line, that was really the perfect start to the window, and they've ended it in the perfect way by getting Partey through the door.
And of course, Simon, as you're reporting in the Evening Standard today, the transfer window isn't closed for players who could go out of the club with the Championship window still open. And this bizarre one with William Saliba, who we made this big fuss about, he's obviously had family problems at home back in France, but he could be going to Fulham or Watford. What's going on, we think, with Saliba?
Yeah, well, I think when Arsenal came in the summer, I think the idea was he was going to integrate into the first team. He came over pretty early, in fact, in the summer. He was, before even that season finished, certainly building up to the FA Cup final, he was sort of training with the group, working with the team. And it was the expectation that this season, he'd transition into the first team. It hasn't gone as smoothly as everyone expected. I know we've obviously heard about the personal issues he's been going through. I think the language is slightly harder than anticipated as well. So it was opened the door, I think, when we spoke to Arteta after that game at Anfield, he wasn't in the Carabao Cup squad last week, that Arteta sort of hinted then, he could go on loan. And then it emerged that Rennes had made a strong interest. They in the end went for Regani, so there was no place there. Then late on it emerged San Etienne, who obviously Arsenal bought him from, had emerged. They then put a statement out saying it had collapsed, it couldn't get done in time. And so now the only place he can go is to the Championship. So the debate Arsenal will have is, do you send him to a league which is pretty physically grueling? It's a lot of games. It's going to be a steep learning curve for him to go there, but maybe they think that's where you've got to throw him in. And you've got to find the right club as well. I think that's a key thing. I don't think Fulham really would have been the best place for a young centre-back to learn his trade. And where he goes will be difficult. I know Watford really liked him before Arsenal signed. They're one of the clubs that want to get him in, and they're next door neighbours, so that makes sense. You look at someone like Brentford, play very good football out from the back, that would make sense. But I think for Arsenal, it's one they won't rush and they won't force him out the door because he's 19 and they spent £27 million on him, so they want to get this right.
Yeah. Well, as we know from the last issue of our Arsenal chat, Jason Solomon's under-12 team needs some new signings. I have to say, Jason, Simon and Charles and myself are lucky enough we can actually go to these games in our roles as to cover the games. You must be desperate to see these guys.
Oh, you're making me so jealous, guys. I cannot wait to see. I think I told you at the start when we did the first HaytersTV thing about that when I with the first Emery game of last season. Feels like so long ago. Sort of getting to my seat and looking at the midfield as it lined up and thinking, there isn't one. We've got a massive gap. We've got Laka and we've got Aubameyang up top. But how are they going to get the ball? How are we going to get it from the back four, which looked a bit shaky, all the way up to the top? We knew we could score goals. There was just this massive hole in the middle. And now I feel I'm going to get to my seat. And if I could just do that, I would see Partey right in the middle there again. That's the anchor that we've needed for so long, like the plug hole that since Vieira left, basically the water's just been sort of pouring down it. And occasionally Santi's filled it with his beautiful patterns. And now I can't wait to see Partey just stand there. And I think he's going to make Pepe better. I think make everything more solid. He's going to make such a huge difference. I think thing is, to be honest, I haven't really ever seen him play. I was like twice on telly, so I'm dreaming of this. But I just can't wait to get into that stadium and see the difference that has made. I know you're witnessing, and sometimes we look a bit. A bit of people said, "Oh, we're a bit dour," and Sheffield United. Sheffield United a dour to watch. We've beaten 2-1. That's a great result. A lot of fans say, "Well, we should be beating them 7-1." 6. It's not. We're not the Bergkamp, Henri Pires, early Wenger days where these teams just come and we blow them away. They're a lot better. We've been through a difficult time. I just want to get back in there and shout some encouragement and trust in the system. Last time we were in there and we were trying to pass out from the back and Leno was shuffling it to Luiz. The whole 60,000 people going, "Oh my God, what are they doing?" And I think now we get back in there and we draw encouragement on and we say, yes, we can work it through the lines. We can get it to Partey and he can get it up to Auba and we can score. And you know what? Everyone else is falling apart, 7-2s and 6-1s and all of that. We're just plodding along, nice and consistent. I'll take Arteta as the new George meets Arsene all the time. That for me is where he's at. And I can't wait for some more results.
Yeah, wouldn't that be the perfect combination? The combination of George Graham and Arsene Wenger, all in that fantastic hair of Mikel Arteta. Jason, that you're the man not in the stands at the moment. Of course, you mentioned Aubameyang. He hasn't scored a goal since he signed that contract, so I doubt he ever will again. What are your feelings now in terms of how we're going to do for the rest of the season?
Yeah, well, as I just said, I think everyone else is looking massively inconsistent. City just look completely lost, and that can happen when you lose David Silva and you lose Aguero and you lose company. You lose all that muscle memory of the old team, and they just look a bit sort of confused as to what to do. And they keep throwing, fortunes at everyone that goes there. They won't take. I think someone's offers them someone for like 20 million. They say no, that's too cheap. We're only doing 50 millions and above. Everyone they buy is a fortune. So I know we spent a lot on Thomas Partey, but it's not a lot compared to what the Manchester clubs spend and what Tottenham are probably spending on Gareth Bale. I just think that we've got a really, really good chance this year. Of top four for sure. I mean, like I said at the beginning of the season, wasn't quite certain. I just think the other people are not as good as we should be intimidated by, and we can beat top 6 teams. And as we've shown at the beginning of this season, the Fulhams, the West Hams, the Sheffield United, who we've struggled to necessarily dispatch. We got 9 points against all of them. We might not have picked those up. We might have had 6 points, or even 5 previously. We've got 9 against them, and I think that's a massive step forward for us. I think we can definitely smash that top 4.
Next few games are going to be key after the international break. I think you got Man City, Leicester, Man United. The next, I think it's the 3 league games. 2 of those, the 2 Manchester games away. I mean, it's going to be intriguing to see how Arsenal get on there and how quickly Partey gets integrated. It's like, do you throw him straight in at Manchester City away? I think he probably will, to be honest, because he's not a kid. He's 27. He's experienced. I think he'll put him straight in there for a game like that. And you're talking about how you think he's going to transform the midfield. I honestly think he is. You look at his numbers across the board; it's fantastic, and certainly getting up to the pitch and providing the sort of link towards the attack. Now, I think most are expecting him just to be, like I said earlier, the destructive ball winner. But you look at his numbers. I mean, I've got him here. The dribbles completed since August 2019 was 64 for Partey, and the highest Arsenal player was 34, which is Ceballos. It's miles ahead of that.
Great more stat. I'm clapping that stat.
Scored more goals than anyone. You look at these ones, the Champions League for Atletico last season. He was first in tackles, first in touches, first in passes into the final third, first in open play chances created, and third in shots. So he's coming in to absolutely boss that midfield in all areas. It's not just about defensively; it's going forward as well and providing that link to the attack. Because you hate comparing anyone to Vieira. It's such a horrible comparison for any player coming to Arsenal to be compared to Patrick, but the way he does stride forward and can transition from defence to attack really, really quickly is something Arsenal missed massively.
Maybe he's a bit more like Gilberto or something. Maybe that's a bit fairer,
Possibly, certainly towards the end of Gilberto at Arsenal when he started scoring a few more goals. But He scored 10 goals in 27 games for Ghana as well. So he knows where the goal is. And, I think he's going to make a really big impact.
Well, let's see how it goes. I'm thinking of getting a Ghana shirt up here for the next time we get together.
Ghana Gooners.
The Ghana Gooners, yeah. I love it. There must be a Ghana Gooners, mustn't there?
Partey's your man, and you build the midfield around it.
Who's he with then, Simon? Who'd you put him in? If you put Partey your first name on the team sheet and you've got those 3 others to put around him, who'd you put in? Where do they play? Where does he work with them?
I mean, I think the options would either be, personally for me, I quite liked how we played sort of towards the end of that Sheffield United game where, Willian came central, Pepe was on the left, Pepe was on the right, Aubameyang left, and then you had the centre point forward. Aubameyang was in the middle, wasn't he? Saka left, Pepe right. And that 4-2-3-1 I would like, and I would have Xhaka and Partey as the 2. But if you want to play a 3, I think you could have Partey at the base of it and have Ceballos and Xhaka. But for me, I would have a 4-2-3-1. I would have Xhaka and Partey, Willian as the 10, Saka left, Pepe right, and Aubameyang as through the middle. And I think that could be a really exciting team.
I think you do that certainly in the home games. That I think you that 4-2-3-1. You're going to play Willian in the more advanced 10 role. I wonder away we'll see more of a 4-3-3. I think Arteta now will certainly start moving towards away from the 3-4-3 and go to a flat back 4 and having 3 midfielders. Certainly for the away games, you think you can have Partey, Xhaka, you can have either add Ceballos slightly further ahead, or you can almost, if you want to utilise Partey going forward, you can almost have him in a more advanced role as well, and Xhaka sitting deep. It just gives them so many more options, I think. But
I just want to finish off, guys, with your sort of just general views on what the sort of vibe is around Arsenal at the moment, because during this pandemic, we had some really bad news with 55 people losing their jobs at Arsenal, including almost Gunnersaurus. That story's been slightly misreported, but the guy Jerry, who quite loyally filled that Gunnersaurus suit and is not extinct, but it's been very sad to see 55 Arsenal people losing their jobs at the same time when lots of people are getting new contracts, lots of money and so on. But there seems to be a very positive feeling amongst Arsenal supporters, amongst the players and everyone associated with the club. Simon?
Yeah, I think it's certainly that August month was a pretty difficult month, wasn't it? Obviously you had the FA Cup success and the joy of that, and then almost immediately you had those redundancies coming pretty quick on the heels of it. And that was, I think a real, certainly bombshell for supporters, and probably put into, light just how big an impact the coronavirus pandemic has had on the club and the way it's been run. And I think it was something that didn't sit easy with supporters, certainly when, you're spending money on transfers and, you big money on wages for players who aren't playing. But in fairness to Arsenal, I think we have seen a bit more communication, certainly from people higher up. I think the promotion of Vinay to the chief executive and him leading the way, I think is a really, really good move by the club. Charles and I were lucky enough and he was well, Nick, to have that sort of round table with him. And I must admit, he came across as someone who's, immensely likeable, clearly very passionate about the club, clearly doing everything in the best interest of the club. Certainly didn't take those redundancies lightly at all. But, I think the club are trying to make the point that if you want to get back to being a Champions League club and, at long term, making the club a profitable business, you've got to sort of spend to accumulate. And it's been difficult doing that in the same time trying to do redundancies. But I feel with the executive group they've got now, with Vinay at the top, with Edu and Mikel working very closely together, I think the structure is finally about as good as it's been since Wenger left, and those sort of 2 years where we've had, the revolving door of Sven, of Ivan, of Raul. I think finally now there is a structure in place that can lead the club forward, and it's probably going to be the most difficult time in the club's history to lead it forward, given everything we've experienced over the past year.
Top 4, yes or no?
Yeah, I think they'll finish 4th exactly.
Charles, what sort of feedback are you getting on goal from the Arsenal fans?
On who? Sorry.
When you're writing on goal, what sort of feedback are you getting there?
What am I writing or on Arsenal?
The
writing, they slag it off all the time. On Arsenal, they are, they're pretty happy. I think. Look, the redundancies are awful, and you feel for everyone who's lost their jobs. But I think in terms of if it's sort of horrible thing to say, really, but if the team's getting results, then certainly the mood on on social media and things like that is a relatively good mood. And Arsenal are ultimately getting results. They've won the FA Cup. They're winning. They won at the end of last season. They're winning again now. And so people are happy. I think the transfer business has been good, really good. I think we haven't spoke about Gabriel yet, but he's been fantastic since he's come in here. I still can't believe he didn't play at Anfield. I really don't understand that.
Can you
tell? They got a chance at top four, a very good chance at top four. I think the Partey signing has given them that, but it's still going to be tough.
So obviously, if in normal times, you guys go, and then the fans like me can come, and we can shout and yell, and the team get an idea of what the mood is, from 60,000 fans. Do they get an idea now, or do they all take it from Twitter? You know what I mean? If like people attack you and you're writing on Twitter, and we get it all the time, is that a real gauge of where things are? Twitter changes from one day to the next. Do the club know? Do the players know that the fans are like, yes, we're very happy with these signings. We're very much behind them. We're kind of, there's a positive vibe coming because they've needed it for a while, right?
Emirates has been negative. I think it can change like that because the build up to say Monday morning or Sunday night, the mood was miserable because everyone thought no one was signing, and then a party signs and suddenly it's celebration time again. But so I think you can't gauge things by social media really, because it's the fan base isn't all on social media, and social media is a pretty dark place most of the time, especially when it comes to transfer business. So. And it's tough. And to be fair, me and Simon and Nick, we haven't really had a chance to speak to any of the players because it's not like before where we could go down there and speak to them after a game. We're not allowed. So, we're as in the dark as you guys are really in terms of how they are really feeling because we've had that access taken away from us.
Well, tell them, if you do speak to them, tell them, come on, let's have it. Come on, you Reds and all that. I just want to sing a party song. I think we've got loads of party songs to come, and we want to wear our party hats and our party shirts. And although I'm a bit disappointed that he seems to be called Thomas, right? Party. I'm going to be singing.
Good history of Thomas's at Arsenal. So
that is true. Yes, if that's good. But is he? I'm going to be calling him Party, and I've got some party songs planned, so I want to get those out. Yeah, Partey. I'm gonna any party songs. We're gonna work on them for when we get back in that ground. I just can't wait to get out there and, as I say, sing those songs because I feel that there's a disconnect, and you don't want the players to not grow up. Your Sakas and your Martin, they didn't really experience the kind of great support that you can get, and the Emirates needs it. It'll be like a new signing when we get back in there.
Yeah, it'll be like
a Bajabi.
It'd be great to have you back there, Jason. And
I'll make a big difference.
We'll do what we can for you in the meantime. Guys, thank you so much for sharing your time with us on Haters TV today to talk about all things Arsenal. We'll have to do it again in maybe another month or so and see how we're getting on then. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, Nick.
Cheers. Go on, you Reds.